Get to work. Move, people. There's plenty to do.
フロストパンクとは1800年代後半、世界的な気候変動で凍結現象が発生した時代の異世界を舞台にしたサバイバル型シミュレーターです。開発したのは This War of Mine と同じ11ビットスタジオです。このゲームはその性質上、厳しい現実をシミュレートし、あなたのモラルと生き残る必要性に挑戦するゲームです。ぜひお楽しみください。
What is Frostpunk? It's a survival-based simulator set in an alternative reality of the late 1800s during a global climate change that has set in motion a global freezing event. Oh my god! The game was developed by 11-bit Studio, the same makers of the game This War of Mine. True to their nature, the game is meant to simulate a harsh reality, challenging your morals and the need to survive.
We roam the still, cold world. No horizon in sight. The rulers of old, stripped of pride and glory. It feels as yesterday we were turning the wheels of progress. Until the frost stopped it all. Suddenly, without a warning. When tides had changed, they changed for all of us, no matter wealth or class. We've lost our world to snow, and with it, our last traces of humanity. We bid farewell to plenty, and for those who remained came the time to adapt. We decided to leave our homes and head north. We roamed for weeks, maybe months, leaving behind all the things we once believed had made us. It was hope pushed us forward. Slowly, step by step. We knew the cost of our journey, and we paid the price 100 times. Finally, the time has come to build the last city on Earth.
Hey guys, so as you can see from the intro video that
ちょっと待って。I'm the host. Hey guys, I'm Taiga, a host of Team 5, and that was Miguel.
Hello.
And I am with Simon.
Hello.
And Miguel, please.
Okay, thank you. Before I was rudely interrupted, as I was gonna say, as you can see from the intro video that we presented, the game that we're gonna play is called Frostpunk, and throughout this whole presentation, we're gonna be talking about what it means to be a leader within the game context itself. And as you can see throughout it, we're gonna be trying to keep the city, living whilst also leading a small band of survivors. Here is Simon on what it means to be a leader.
Yeah, so our main argument and thesis throughout this video will be looking at morals as a leader and seeing the two different perspectives. So the gameplay footage is of mine and Miguel's. Miguel is a well-rounded player who has played this game multiple times before. I'm a newbie to this game, never played it, never seen a video, and I want to see the differences in how decision-making go about this. One, looking at our morals. So for me, my morals are going to be coming to the game without thinking about survival It's just going to be how I would perceive in those scenarios, where Miguel's morals will differ because he knows what it takes to survive in this harsh world and climate. So really what we're going to boil down and look at and talk about throughout this video is hegemony and the hegemonic struggle, and these elements and how they play in with being moral as a leader and what that means. We look at the hegemony and the hegemonic struggle. Well, the hegemony is really gaining trust within your people, who then will give you that leadership role. This by the people believing in you because of the same morals, the same attitudes. The hegemony is really built up through a cultural-based understanding where society and norms seem common because they are a part of their culture and society. So building up through that. And then within that, looking to be the hegemonic struggle, where that ends up being two different elements. One being where you can continue holding power because you're doing this connection building and being that leader who people believe in through, like I said earlier, your morals, your standputs. It equates and is on the same level with your citizens, so they believe that. Or you can go with a different route when you have to do more forceful tactics, like using the police force or military to make sure that your people have fear in them so that they'll stay on your side because they fear the consequences of what could happen.
Alright, so like we try to like equate that with what happens within the game Frostpunk itself. So essentially, as I've already said, we in this game are the captain of, and we're handling like around initially 80 people, as you can see in the video. We start off with generally nothing at all, with only the generator in the middle. Essentially, that is our life force. Without that, we have no heating, and without no heating, the city could not survive. And as a leader, and as essentially the hegemon, that word within this whole game, we try to balance the survival of the city with also the needs of our people. So, as I think Taiga here will talk about the general setup of the game.
So this video is side by side. On the left screen, it's Simon's gameplay, and on the right screen, it's Miguel's. And you guys are pretty know how to watch at the same time because you guys watch TikTok all the time, you know? So shall we start?
Sounds good.
All right, now you guys video started, and what I noticed is, can Miguel explain what the center red thing is?
Oh, the red part. So essentially right now the red part is showing 80, which means there's currently 80 homeless people within the game itself. Essentially the red part, you'll see this throughout the whole video itself, but it's essentially a notifying system. It shows you some of the pressing matters that needs to be attended. Currently there's 80 people that doesn't have housing, which is important if you ask me. But as the video progresses, you'll see things like hunger, sickness, people, that it's essentially the needs of the people, essentially.
So yeah, and then I'm just kind of like learning about the game, so I'm just like clicking on everything, seeing what's around me. Okay. General ideas.
All right, so for the general ideas, what are you guys thinking right now?
Okay, so if you just want to pause it really quick. So for me, like I said earlier, I'm just kind of like learning the game, learning the mechanics, what should I do? So initially I was thinking once I like learned about like people being homeless and what I wanted to go after and needing to like fuel our like heat source, I was thinking I just need to get coal and resources to build homes. So that's mostly where like my mindset went to immediately.
Well, for me, as you can see, I was clicking pretty fast there, but if you fast forward a little bit, like go, you'll see that one of the things I set up there is the food court or the food house. One of the biggest things I find in the game, integral at the very start, is the food supplies. And if you continue one of the decisions I made was soup. I chose soup as my first decision because essentially, I don't know about you guys, but adding water and piece of meat isn't really the most appetizing thing, but it does make your supply of like meals a lot more. you can ration it effectively. Hence why I chose a soup. But currently, that one of my most prerogative thing is having that set up. Afterwards, getting the resources that I need.
And then I want to add on to that because I think that was an interesting piece of gameplay where you have laws that you can enact, and it's every 24 hours, right? You can enact a new law,
so.
And there's usually a two-sided option that you can choose from. And as we go on this gameplay, you'll see more decisions, and like what these decisions are will become more and more greater in what it will imply to the citizens and you as a leader.
As a general idea, though, these laws aren't. You don't need to take them. They are more of things that you could take as if you need it. But in general, you're not required to take them. You could skip them as much as you want.
To control your people.
Essentially, to control your people or control your economy. So the food supplies. I needed more food, so I chose soup. But one of the other options that you didn't see was sawdust, where you add sawdust to your meals to make them more filling. I don't know about you, but that is not the healthiest things. And that would come up as more people getting sick. So you need a lot more, how do I say this, medical facilities for that.
Okay, let's continue on.
All right, and also I just want to know, can you explain what the center, the big circle one?
The big circle one, essentially that is the heart of the city. It's called the furnace or the generator. It's essentially a large geothermal furnace that provides heat to the game. So essentially, as the main premise of the game, as you've seen earlier, there was a global cooling event. And cold is not, the most livable environment at all. So as I said, this is the heart of the city. It provides heat for your citizens. Without it, the city is out. As one of the main themes of the game is the city must survive. And what they're trying to say is the generator must survive, because without it, there will be no city, and without it, you're lost, essentially.
Interesting. And then also what I noticed is what are two bars under the red circle one?
So the two bars at the bottom are the indicators of both hope and discontent. So the biggest things about this game is, as I think Simon talked about earlier, is the decisions. Those decisions are, whenever you carry them out, affects your people in a certain way, and those two bars at the bottom reflects what your people think about what you're doing. Bad decisions would mean loss of hope, as in hope as you as a leader and as their general survivability, but also it would increase discontent, as in they don't like what you're doing. The red bar is the discontent, and as that grows, a lot of people will be more unhappy with what you're doing.
And this plays into more of our main argument throughout this piece, being that it's looking at the morals that you make, and within those morals, it relies on the hegemony and the hegemonic struggle. So people's perception of you as a leader can change drastically, and it's your decision making and what you do that can really determine that. So the hope meter and the dissatisfaction meter really represents that. So within the struggle aspect of this, right now, at least what it looks like for Miguel, he's leaning on the side of trying to appease to his people and trying to be amongst them with understanding their struggles and what their morality and common sense would be. So instead of giving them sawdust, which would not be beneficial at all, at least soup has some sort of nutritional benefit where it can be like spread out amongst multiple people, and at least people can have food and not get sick afterwards.
Yeah. Although as soup, it's not the most, I mean, you say nutritious, but it's not the most filling thing. People would not like having meat and water every day.
True. Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
Alright, so middle of the game, can you both talk about morals versus survivals?
So could you elaborate with that some more?
Like, do you do you more important with morals for surviving, or if you can survive without any morals, you choose throw away the morals?
So essentially, what you're asking is whether in terms of decision making, is morals an important thing, right? So personally, I would say within this game, it gives you a lot more leeway on the things that you do, but at the same time, you really have to balance, actually taking care of your people. Personally, I would find that morals are important in a way that it helps structure, your society. But at the same time, survivability is the most important things. Hence why, there were some laws that I chose that aren't, necessarily quite popular. Not because I chose them because I'm evil. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not, but, you can just throw away morals if it means, survivability. Simon?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting idea within the complex thinking of morals and survivability, and then how does that differ within different scenarios. So for me at least, when I come into this gameplay, I'm thinking more so in a comfort setting where, like I said earlier, I want to provide for my people and want to give them leeway, but you can understand where in a survival setting your morals have to shift if you really want to survive and have the best odds of doing so, and especially in a harsh environment like the one portrayed in the game. You have to make hard decisions that people might not enjoy or really align with, but at the end of the day, it's the best strategy that you can go with for the greater amount of people to survive. So there is that interesting dichotomy between the two ideas, and then how does your moral shift within that then becomes another question.
Should we play the video?
Yeah, let's continue on with the video.
And how about you, our beautiful host? What is
Thank
your
you.
opinion?
Well, for me, that is very important in the real life. But to survive this negative 20 degrees Celsius, which is very cold,
Chilly.
for you. For me, I think if people can survive, I would say I do not focus on the morals. So I may choose child labor in that
Can you pause
case.
it really quick? Okay.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, child labors or any immoral activities.
So continue pausing it, but I just want to ask, so this is coming up later on, but within that setting of survival, why do you think it's okay to have what we would perceive now, children labor and those kind of acts be okay in that setting then?
What do you think is alright?
That's a very interesting question. I didn't play this game. You guys both played. But for me, what I learned from the game is to make people survive, we need to choose every single options. And in that options, child labor is one of them. And then I think if people die, the city will die.
True.
So I think in that case, I would choose immoral things if
So-
people can
So
survive.
essentially, you're trying to say is survive first, then get our morals
Yeah,
straight.
of course.
Because
Yeah.
you can't survive with morals alone.
I'm not evil, but
I'm not saying
No.
you're not.
No,
but
yeah.
We can continue on.
Oh, no, one second. I just wanted to
Alright.
talk really quickly, keep it paused. Right before that, Miguel brought up a point talking about how you don't have to actually enact laws. And if you see earlier, I didn't enact any laws because
True.
I didn't think that there needed to be any, but maybe I should have enacted. Just how Tyre was talking about, it's about survival. So it's not really about bad or good or evil actions or good actions. It's just trying to survive. And in those settings, you need to meet the bare necessities, and everyone needs to put in their effort as they can. So I think what you said is very accurate to survival. There's a lot of things that we take for granted now that we have access to all these resources in this world, that in a realm like this where you have to survive, you just don't have those luxuries.
Alright.
Yeah.
If you continue this video, we're gonna see a sequence of 3 different laws. This one is emergency shift, which allows you as a captain to enforce a 24-hour shift in one of the buildings. I don't know about you, but I don't want to work 24 hours, but if needs be, go ahead. And on this one, it's an extended shift, which means you're forcing your people to work 14 hours compared to the meager 12 hours that they usually do. And this one is the child shelters that we're talking about. Personally, I don't have much problem with like employment right now, so I chose child shelters because I find them
But you
important.
could choose it though.
True. And on this part, you'll see people actually on this. Could you pause? Go ahead a little bit. Wait, there. You'll see those 6 people essentially. Those are the replies on the laws that I've chose, and yeah, it essentially gives character to the game. Like essentially gives voices on your decisions aren't just merely things that you do. It affects people. Some people are actually thankful that you said like, oh, my children aren't working. I'm really thankful for that. That kind of stuff. On the other ones, they're complaining about 14 hours. 14 hours. That's a lot given our current state. Well, some people are praising that because they know they need to survive. Essentially, it's more of a mixture of opinions.
They should work
They should work, honestly. Yeah.
to survive.
True. Go ahead. So, on this part, I was talking about the red bits. You could see 2 people are sick, 8 people are hungry, and 33 are homeless. And yeah, these are just essentially complaints. And if we continue,
Yeah. So this is my gameplay footage, and you can see that the winter, it's like the game lets you know when there's like big events happening.
yep. And this is one of the biggest things about the winter is frostbite, and it's not the greatest. All right.
So I was like struggling to try to make enough resources to build homes, and so then I'm enacting a law for, I think it's sickness, right? Is this the law?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so doing that. So the hope goes up and the discontent's going up because people are still,
Okay, can you
freezing.
pause? Can I pause? Actually, for that discontent, I think it's more from what I remember. It's people saying like, because that is sustained life, so people that are critically ill, you could just put them in the beds, and some of the more discontent are coming from like, why are we giving beds to these people that we can't cure? Just throw them
Yeah.
away. While some people are like, this is a good measure, but is it a prudent, decision? It also rises the hope because you're being nice to them, but it also rises the decision. So it's not a binary system, You could rise hope whilst also rise discontent. Go ahead.
The silence one has more than you.
Hey, come on now. So here, actually, pause. When I chose the child shelter, here's a follow-up. So essentially, some of the decisions are just one-by-one cases, not cases, but you do them and ignore them. They actually have some follow-up things. As this with the child shelters, I can assign the children working at the child shelters to either work as medic apprentices or engineering apprentices, and I chose the medic apprentices because I think that's a useful thing to have. But you could totally do the engineering, which just helps you with research, which in my personal opinion is, I think being apprentice is far better than letting the children actually work as medics themselves. It'll be both a danger to them and the people that they're trying to help.
So, like, in the aspect of looking at, like, morals, like, decisions as a leader, like, when you looked at and made that decision, was it just because you morally thought, like, children shouldn't really work, or was it more looking for, like, a strategy, like, later on within your civilization?
I would say both, actually. I mean, personally, as a moral thing, like, I don't like having children, work things, because first, they'll be a danger to themselves, and secondly, as a strategy thing, I find the health problem here a little bit more intense, and so I kind of strategically chose this. But overall, I think I chose this more for moral reasons, and you could also totally have moral reasons, and the game itself actually rewarding you for being more moral. There's also the opposite of if you chose like child jobs, you can. There's also consequences or rewards regarding that. That I will not tell you because you need to play the game. I think it's on sale. I don't know. Don't quote me. Continue. So yeah. So here we got two things that are coming up. Feed more with less. That is essentially with Simon's current ongoing problem is currently you're having problems with food, right?
Yeah.
And the game sees that.
Yeah.
And currently it's some of the people complain, and one of the things that shows up is feed more with less.
Yeah.
And as I was talking about my the child shelters one, on my side, on the right side, it shows note of thanks because essentially what it says is a mother is thanking you for not having their children go to work, which is a privilege for the wealthy class back at London during when there weren't as drastic of a temperature change. And here I enacted that despite most of the people not coming from a wealthy standing, and they're thanking me for that, as a more reward base. All right?
Yeah, and so really one thing that was happening to me was the food aspect. I was actually struggling on how to figure out how to build the actual structures to make the food. Like I'd build them, and then for some reason I didn't understand the mechanic of how to make it so that the food would be production. So I was only relying on my scouts to go out and find food. So that made it hard. I think you bring up an interesting point though about classism in the game, and these people within your society thanking you for having their children not work, because at this time period there was no child labor laws, and so I think you were shifting the narrative of your hegemony. You're changing the actual common sense and belief and morals within your own citizens. So I think that's interesting.
I think this game was set into probably Victorian era England. So during that time, children worked as chimney cleaners, those kind of stuff, and it wasn't the best in terms of the population, because it was a time of booming industrial capabilities. And as you can see later on, it kind of reflects on the overall architecture of the game. It has that more steampunky vibe, hence Frostpunk, a play on word. But we also see some more newer technological advances that we have not seen in our current reality. I think we could continue on.
Yep. Yeah, so you can see I'm having a bunch of issues with my game. People hungry.
And that is just us reminding Simon that previously there were people complaining already.
Yeah, so now you can see us pop up. People are very frustrated with me, and hoping that tomorrow will be better.
Yeah, that actually comes from because you have a fairly high hope. So despite them being frustrated, let's make it through the day, tomorrow will be better. That also has more of a hope lining, because people are kind of hopeful that things could be better, that kind of stuff.
But what hope actually you try to bring to people?
So it really came down to how I perceived going into the game, what my morals would be. So trying to provide whatever my people suggested to me. So instead of kind of thinking, I want to make this decision because I think in the long run this will work out better, I was kind of looking for immediate solutions to please my people.
I think we can go ahead. Continue, Simon?
Yeah, I think we can keep going. Yeah, so, and I think that kind of just backfired on me because it really was not looking long term. I was just trying to hold on to a lot of belief within the people. And so then now, what's this happening right here?
So essentially, can you pause that a bit? So this is family torn apart. So as you could see, might remember from the intro video, we left London. London was falling apart. It was cold, and we are from a caravan from London, and something happened throughout that, and some people from our convoy got lost, separated from us. So this is essentially a woman saying that my husband, she's saying my husband is not here. I think he's lost along with other people from our convoy, and she's kind of urging us to do something about that. Research technologies to actually help us further on. Go ahead. So yeah. So we'll do something that we can, try to help people.
Yeah. No. So it looks like, yeah, just trying to help out. Now we're going to like.
Just general, like whatever is happening. Here is the actual lost caravan or expedition. So in this screen, earlier you saw, that is the actual world view. As you can see, everything is covered in snow. And we actually sent a expedition or a group of scouts to locate one of our lost people. And this is the happy reunion actually. And we could either escort them to the city or send the survivors to the city. These are also more choices that is presented to us. Like, you know, if you're in a hurry, you could just send them to the city, but at the same time, that has its own risk because they don't know where the general location of the city is. They're just survivors that you found, and they might die along the way. Or you could have your scout who knows the lay of the land and have them go back with them. But the problem is you might need the scout to explore more, gather more resources or stuff. Essentially, this is more of a more decisions for you as a leader to do. And currently, though, there's not much prerogative to, like, you know, or hurry to do anything. So I just like have them escort to the city. Go ahead.
I think that brings up like a moral decision within like survival of like how do you help like your own citizens first, or do you try to go out once you have a little bit of establishment, go out and help others?
Okay, what are those?
Which one?
This one.
Oh, this one. This is actually a little cinematic, essentially showcasing like some of the survivors that you found, going back to your city. As you can see, that is the city on the below. And go ahead. That is the people from our convoy reunion. You know, I think that girl is the person complaining earlier. I can't remember, but like, you know, you can see them hugging their lost members. One is holding a child. You know,
there, yeah,
at the very back. Go ahead. Yeah. So as we just continue forward, you can see like some of the stuff that we're doing. On Simon's screen, you're doing technologies, right?
Yeah, I'm like looking into that and trying to figure out how it works.
I'm gonna pause.
Which I never really could get it to work.
Yeah. Here actually is one of my favorite scene. As I was trying to say, some of the decisions I've made weren't as popular, and this is my favorite because it kind of gives the people more of a face, a voice, more personality. As one of them complained, how would our captain F things up today? You know, I just find that personally funny, as in like, they just don't like me. but hey, they have high hopes, so they just don't like me.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So for more in terms of like hegemony, do you have anything more to say about that, Simon?
Yeah, well, I think coming up will be interesting to talk about this because within the hegemony, it's you as the leader or how your faction of people or group of people that decides they want you to represent them. It boils down to a lot of different aspects. It boils down to cultural aspects, to societal aspects, to just how like common sense and interactions happen. And this changes over time. Hegemonies only have a certain lifespan for them, so they will continue going like different amounts of up and down. And hegemonies at the beginning of their start and the end of their time are their weakest. And this is when groups like struggle to have control over it. So this is a great representation of this game, showing how hegemony at the beginning of it, how easy it is for things to change very rapidly. And later on in this game, it gives you opportunities to talk about like very complex issues that, in my opinion, kind of go with the whole hegemonic struggle, where how you interact with your people says a lot about what kind of community and what kind of society you're going to bring up. So I'm going to ask Miguel about this because he understands this more, and because I never got to this point in the game before I was banished. About there is this portion of what is it? It's like religion and
it's actually faith, spirituality versus order and discipline. Those are further on the game. You would be presented with an option of either going with, you know, faith or spirituality. Something happened in the game, and it kind of forces you to pick one to kind of lead your people by, because this time they actually need like a direction. And some of you might say, faith and order, those kind of stuff. It's a no-brainer, go with faith. But if you go on further with the game, those two kind of lead at the same path of extremism. So there's not much difference, I would say. Both are very valid, but you can't just look at it and judge it really quickly. Here, I asked Taiga to pause a while, but here's one of the responses or consequences of what I've said earlier about the food quality. Mm-hmm. People are complaining about the soup because not much nutrition, water, meat, not the best. And they're complaining about that, like, can we have some quality meals per chance, like a little bit? And well, no, I'm sorry, but no.
Just one second. I just want to keep talking about that whole aspect that we were talking about a little bit earlier, because you're saying kind of goes towards the same end, and so like the morals that like go into that, where really it's like what I talked about earlier with like how the hegemonic struggle works, where you look at how you can either persuade your people and be on your people's side by believing in their morals and changing as they change. So you can go with having like different aspects, kind of how I went with the gameplay, where I was really just trying to focus on what my people wanted, or you can go with more of a controlling aspect where you use kind of force, and you could use like dictatorship, but it's not really that to that extreme when we're talking about this. But you'll see sort of the changes, and really Miguel took a different approach as we talked about this game, and sort of wanting to look at like more of a stricter hegemonic struggle than the perspective I went with.
Here, one of the things I was talking about, like technological newer inventions, is the automaton, which is essentially a giant robotic worker. Personally, I like it because it sounds like a dog, but well, the sounds that it makes, and here's are just like some of the more different types that the games presented. Like it's set in the past, but there are some technologies that are rather more futuristic. That's just what I wanted to say. Continue on. Actually, Taiga, just a question. Would you ever consider being a leader, as in like presenting, leading these kind of people? Would you ever consider doing that?
No.
No?
No.
No? Why?
I don't want to have any responsibility to survive people.
What would you do if you were in that position, though?
I would choose more immoral ways to make people survive, because you guys both like a kind of moral ways though. So that means I need to choose opposite ways. And then right now I think Simon's hope is very
Oh my yes.
oh my god,
It
it's
is.
Yeah,
almost
down.
almost nothing.
We make fun of Simon's Hope, but as you can see on mine, people are also complaining with like
But
red things.
your people complains a lot, but you have a lot of hope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened, Simon?
So for me, I think it was mostly just my lack of game knowledge, but because I wasn't able to produce enough food, and then that led to people being sick and trying to manage the sick people, and people then angry, like Miguel said earlier, how people then felt frustrated that I was helping out these sick people instead of helping out people who could actually work and be a part of it. And then I enacted laws where when people die, other people then can take time off if they are like related to the death. So then you have a lot of people feeling that even though they're working very hard, they don't get time off and they don't get the same treatment as other individuals, and so that built up resentment, and so that's why my hope went to nothing essentially.
Go ahead. Also, speaking about like the bed thing problem, it's not just like you're trying to help them survive. It's another part of the problem is here's another death. Can you pause? You're taking up bed spaces that you could use to help people that need it. Not just take it with these goners, as one of them would have said.
Yeah.
Here is the actual first death of the video. Simon?
Yeah, this is my downfall. This is when pretty much everything piles up. The deaths, the sicknesses, like it just becomes an avalanche, and you'll see my results from the gongs of how many deaths I had.
Did you expect someone would die in your city?
Yeah, knowing the game would be, I was expecting it to be very difficult to keep survival. Especially when the big initial thing that shocked me was how little resources there was, to pull from, and you really have to manage that very wisely.
The initial part of the game was hard. I didn't show this part, but I tried to actually show off a bit and tried to play the game in in hard difficulty. I could not do that, even if I was I played this before. I could not survive. I couldn't survive even the first initial part because people were hungry, despite the loss I've made. If you continue the video, yeah, this game is generally a difficult one, as it is meant to simulate a harsh reality. Yeah, this is what you're talking about, the cemetery and those parts.
Yeah, so this is where I start enacting, I built a cemetery instead of just, throwing them in piles. And then letting the people, have time to grieve. Which then also, I talked about earlier, being something that I felt morally was right to do, but it then put a lot of discontentment with other factions within my little group and led to my discontent beating out my hope.
So, yeah. So, here, as we were talking about earlier, the gongs, there's a lot of gong sounds in it. That essentially signifies death in Simon's video, and yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
People are dying right now.
True.
It's not only one or two.
No, it's lots of people.
Yeah.
So I needed to grieve, and my team helped me in their own way.
Which is true.
Yeah, this is true. So in hard times, sometimes you just need a little pick me up. So this was the way my team helped me through this hard time to lift my spirits to continue on.
He also left our spirits editing this.
So that means many people die, and that's why the person gong a lot.
Yeah.
Every gong you hear is another person in my little town dying.
Here on the this scene actually, as you can see later on, pause for a bit. This is as the name suggests, Man from Winterhome. One of the main premise of the game is you're not the only city here. You came from London, but during the Victorian times, historically, there was a British Empire, and they have a lot of resources. So your city is one of supposedly many generators scattered around the Arctic. And one of the city is called Winterhome. If you continue on, this person is essentially warning us that we are alone. Winterhome has fallen. The other city has fallen, and lost. So yeah, further on it says Winterhome has fallen. Continue the video. Yeah, the city that we thought could help us has fallen. Can you pause it? Here is what I was talking about earlier. The two choices that presented to us. Since Winterhome has fallen, people has lost faith in our government. There's no hope for survivability. I have to choose a direction to lead them in. Either I choose order and discipline, or faith and spirituality. Go ahead. And one of the choices I made is order. For this, one of the allegations is communism. With labor and for the survivability. That is not an eagle. That is the frost. Just to let you guys know. Moving on. Here are some of the decisions, because that actually provide us more different laws. And one of the laws that I chose to enact after taking that is neighborhood watches. Essentially having not guards, but neighborhood people watching over themselves, trying to help each other. And going further with that, it just gets a little bit more worser and worser. Here, it says, can you pause? The unconvinced wants to leave. Essentially, they're not convinced at the direction I'm telling them to go. They don't think that order is the way to, help us. They lost hope. And one of the things that they said is, what? Are we just going to orderly line up in the soup line to get our food?
So then you're really using like a tactic, like a forceful tactic within the hegemonic struggle to like your morals are then shifting to be of survival and just trying to push that so your hegemony, your power within the hegemony stays.
Yeah, it's not shown because the video would end early, but these Londoners, as they would be referred to, wants to go back to London because they think London has survived. Personally, I don't think London has survived, and this is for their own good that we need to keep them in. And on the other side, Simon, do you want to talk about that?
So I'm very far behind. Miguel has already passed me so far. I'm just now pretty much been exploring, doing the research balloons, like sending off people to go find individuals or more resources. And these are just like little segments of like me finding more individuals, having them be led back. So morally, I used my guide to lead them back. I didn't let them go back on their own. And then also, one big segment was they found individuals and they were trapped behind like polar bears. Like polar bears were guarding it, and I said continue on, try to go, and luckily they passed the polar bears.
I actually did that. It's a chance thing.
Oh,
and
really?
on mine, I tried to help them, but my survivors died
Really?
during that part. Also, I think we're ignoring the elephant in the room. The child's plea.
The child's plea. Oh, what was the child's plea?
That is, I think they're saying like, every morning whenever her mom hears a bell, they go up and go to work, and she's currently in the graveyard, and she's asking you to ring the bell to have her mom.
That's right. Yeah, come back.
Come back, because it's a ritual, They bell, they get up, and
Bell, they go to
the child's mom is now dead, and it's just pleading you to
Yeah, there's nothing really I could do. Like my morals, I was trying to be like morally upright and like give the citizens what they need, but by the end, like you could see my deaths and my decision making, it just led to my population suffering greatly.
Yeah. Which goes to like what Taiga says earlier. What did you say? Sometimes morals should just be thrown away if it comes to like your survivability, right?
Of course.
Of course,
Especially if you're like the leader then and like making those decisions.
Yeah, but I don't want to be.
Yeah, but one of the biggest, the best sign of being a leader is you don't want to be a leader. So Taiga, I think
be a great leader.
You would be a great leader, as one of our sponsors on the video would.
Thank
be.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah, we also have a great leader as one of our sponsors.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead with the video. So yeah, Londoners, they are totally unconvinced with my leadership style, and they want to leave. And currently there's 19, but as the days go on, they try to influence as much people as possible. So they're as much of a threat as the Cold themselves. They're trying to split up my community. And one of the things I try to do to help mitigate that is more watchtowers to watch over the neighborhood.
So military tactic almost, like a police.
Hey. Those watch lights are for people helping each other, okay? I am not that evil. More people are leaving. That is not happy, okay? I am not happy with
he's
that.
trying to make a
Here,
prison
this is a
way.
good one. Pause. Alright? Just to give me a better light. The neighborhood watch, timely intervention, one of the children climbed up the generator and they caught the child before dying. See, I'm not that bad, okay? I'm not bad. Go ahead. See, some of the policies that I made are totally good, and we were talking about Winterholm, and this is the previous city of Winterholm. As you can see, it has fallen, and that would be us if you don't obey me. This is the direction.
So you're using fear tactics.
Not fear tactics. An example tactic. If they don't follow me, this is what's gonna happen. And if they don't follow me, as you could see, I am gonna place guard towers this time to guard them from themselves. Okay. Bigger towers means better, right?
Yeah, they're protecting. They're protecting towers.
Yes, protecting towers. If they could change. And in this part, some of the survivors from Winterhome, children survivors. Yeah. In this scene, can you pause it for a bit? It just goes to show like some of the people from Winterhome saw the anarchy that was happening because lack of guard towers, and actually had the prerogative to get the children out to safety. Sadly, their caretakers have died, I think trying to go back to the city and get more supplies, and they were left here. Good thing we came across them, and we, as one of the options, if you see, we will totally leave them to their fate. No, I'm joking. Go ahead. We would be escorting the children to the city.
So that's like a moral decision.
That is a moral decision.
Yeah, you're.
Which also, if you think about it, more mouths to feed.
Yeah, so it's
your
actually a
inside
burden.
was.
More mouths to feed.
So you took them in because even though you're like controlling, it's like that was like you felt was the.
Yeah, and the inside, I like Taiga was said. Can you pause for a bit? What Taiga said, despite my more aggressive style, both of us went for a more moralistic approach. My approach was far more dictatorial, but I tried to be as nice as I could. It would be interesting to see Taiga's point of view. Because what did you say you're gonna do if you were a leader?
What did I say? Child labor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
You're gonna be more amoral, right?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Of course.
And that's mostly you're making those decisions because it's like the environment you're in of survival.
And do you want to walk us over this one?
Yeah, so I just want to continue. This is me after failing my people, and I had 48 hours to correct what decisions I had made. So this was after the 48 hours, and I was not able to erect my people's hope enough to where they wanted to keep me as leader. So my hegemony, my time as a leader within that was long gone. My cycle began and ended very quickly, and I was banished from the faction of people and sent off into the world to die with very kind messages by my people.
Yes. Go ahead.
But yeah.
Yeah. Good riddance. I don't. This is more of a death sentence than anything, really.
Yeah. No. What?
So yeah, here you're banished.
Yeah, so I'm gone. This is the end. So you could see Miguel ended with saving his game and still having a civilization to lead, and I was sent off into the woods to try to survive and essentially die.
Yeah, personally, even though I left in a quote-unquote happy note, I am in the middle of an order crisis right now, and people wanting to leave my city, so they might meet Simon along the way, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. So I think at the end, with our main argument, like looking like morals as a leader is very. It's not black and white. There's so many gray areas, and especially within a survival environment like this game puts you in. So your hegemony, your cycle within that as leader is extremely volatile, and going through the decisions you make can really make or break you as a leader, and also the people who are reliant on you to be the way to survive in this harsh climate.
Do you want to take us out, Taiga?
What?
Do you want to take us out?
Sure. Okay. What can I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like an ending.
Yeah.
Okay. So now our videos just ended and Simon was kicked out. And it was from Miguel and Simon. And do you guys want to leave any comments before we going to our funny, interesting ending roll?
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and go Team 5!
Team 5!
Woo!
Yatta!
Yatta!
Alright, I hope you guys enjoy our ending rolls.
Alright, thank you.
Bye-bye.
チャンピオンも倒れりゃただの人。地球は丸くて転げやすい。でもそこからが優しいのさ。どっちをどっちをどっちを向いても立ち直れるよ。ぐるっと回って一回転、ぐるっと回って一回転、ぐるっと回って一回転でひっくり返ったらはっは。ぐるっと回って一回転